This is Tom Fox, and I'd like to welcome you to the newest addition to the Compliance Podcast Network, the FCPA Survival Guide. What do you do if you find yourself under FCPA investigation by either the Department of Justice or the Securities and Exchange Commission? Where can you go for information on what the DOJ and SEC expect from a company? Well, I have done that work for you as I have data mined the last 18 months of significant FCPA enforcement actions to provide to you the top 10 things you need to do to obtain a declination or the lowest possible fine and penalty. This podcast series, the FCPA Survival Guide, will go through each of the steps that you can take going forward. I know you will enjoy this series, and if you find yourself under an investigation, find it incredibly useful as well. This is my first podcast with a companion book, the FCPA Survival Guide, which is available on Amazon.com. We'll link to it in the show notes. The podcast is sponsored by Ethico, and now we'll have a quick word from this podcast sponsor, Ethico.
Handling multiple compliance cases can often feel like navigating a complex labyrinth. Ethico introduces simplicity and intelligence into this chaos with our custom workflow automation. By automatically routing cases based on your unique criteria, we turn the maze into a clear path forward. Envision a compliance process that's not just effective, but also intuitive and adaptable to your needs. It's time to redefine efficiency in your workplace. Embark on this journey of transformation at ethico.com/CPN. Book a demo and explore the white paper by Tom Fox, 2023, The Year in Compliance, to discover a world of seamless compliance management.
Tom Fox, and I'd like to introduce this new exciting podcast series, the FCPA Survival Guide. As I mentioned in the opening, this is the first podcast series that I've done, which I've paired it with a book. So if you've enjoyed this podcast, I hope you will purchase the book. It's available on Amazon.com. I'm also joined throughout this series by Nick Gallo, the co-founder and co-CEO of Ethico. Ethico is a sponsor of this podcast series, and Nick will be joining me for each episode. We're going to take a look at what the DOJ has said you need to do if you find yourself in an FCPA enforcement action. This information comes from 4 key FCPA resolutions over the past 16 months or so: ABB, Albemarle, SAP, and Gunvor. We're also going to talk about some of the speeches that DOJ representatives have given over this time frame, which really tells us their expectations. We have, of course, Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco, and we have Nicole Argentaria, who will also help guide us in the things that you need to do. Through this exploration, we will give you the top 10 things you can do to either obtain a declination or greatly reduce your fine and penalty if you find yourself in an FCPA investigation. These top 10 are: number 1, self-disclosure; number 2, extraordinary cooperation; number 3, extensive remediation; number 4, root cause analysis; number 5, data analytics; number 6, clawbacks and holdbacks; number 7, change in sales models; number 8, enhancement of your compliance program; number 9, internal controls; and number 10, your investigative protocol. There has never been a look at the DOJ's comments directly themselves about their expectations for what companies need to do to obtain discounts or all the way to a declination. Well, I've synthesized all of this for you from the enforcement actions over the past 16 months or so and the speeches. If you find yourself in an FCPA enforcement action, this book and this podcast series will really be the handbook for you to help you get the best resolution that you can. I know you'll enjoy this series, the FCPA Survival Guide, co-hosted by myself, Tom Fox, and Nick Gallo from Ethico. This is Tom Fox again. I hope you will join Nick Gallo and myself for this 10-part exploration of how to survive an FCPA enforcement action. As I mentioned in the introduction, this is the only look at what the Department of Justice has communicated about their expectations should a company find themselves in FCPA crosshairs. We have the companion book, which is available on Amazon.com. We're going to link to that in the show notes. I'm greatly looking forward to this podcast series. I enjoyed writing the book, and I know you will get a lot out of this, the FCPA Survival Guide podcast. Thanks so much for listening, and we look forward to visiting with you next in episode 1.